She has more than a decade of experience working with small and medium-sized businesses and startups in both the private and public sectors. She started the Catalyst HQ, a coaching and consulting company focused on helping entrepreneurs get unstuck and bring their business into alignment through strategic planning and brand clarity. Let's welcome Kenyetta Hall.
Hey everybody, I know I probably don't look like I have 10 years of experience doing anything, because I'm this big and my voice sounds kind of young, got a little raspiness to it. But yes, so I started the Catalyst because I felt like I wanted to have a space for entrepreneurs to be able to fail, right? I think that we underscore failure so much. And we only highlight success at such a high level that sometimes that level of success can be unattainable for most, right? And so my goal is when I work with anybody to help them reset, refocus, and reimagine how they actually do business and where they can go with their business. So my topic is really on why we need spaces to fail. As you can see with all the other speakers, right? One of the main things they had in common was that they didn't have enough space to actually make those failures, right? And maybe be a little bit more successful in those areas. So I think it's important that we foster just that space to fail. Just on my personal journey, I feel like I didn't have enough space to fail. You know, that's just, you know, where I kind of lost it, right? And I wasn't okay with that initially. And it took me a minute to get over that hump and those moments of validation in order to be able to create a space where people could do just that. So, as you see, bright smile that I paid $3,500 for when I got braces at 32. And as you can see, I want to help and make sure that people are able to live life on their own terms. That's one of the things that it took me a very long time to do, was to stop falling into what society had predicted, what society thought was success, and learn to define that on my own, and do it the way that I want to do it. And so I made sure that I created a space where people could do that too. So I want to start off with just a little quote from Ellen DeGeneres, is that when you take a risk, you will learn that there will be times when you succeed and times when you fail, and both are equally as important. But really, is failure really equally as important as success? And society has completely made us feel like that is not a thing, right? So the answer is obviously no. And if you really think about it, failure is actually counterintuitive to how we're supposed to think. So just kind of think of the fact that you have been programmed all of your life that success is equal to perfection, right? So we undervalue failure, and we overvalue perfection. So when you just look at your childhood, right, from childhood to adulthood, everything is incentivized for you to be perfect, for you to get the A+, for you to be the best in sports, even at your job, right? What are you getting? A performance review to see how well you did, and then you can get your 3 to 5% raise, right? So everything is incentivizing for you to be perfect, right? And the less perfect you are, the less incentivized it is. So you're never really in a space to fail, right? And if you really think about it, failure really didn't start becoming sexy till these startups started failing. And then everybody was like, oh, well, they're just in college, and, you know, they could just do it again. And you're like, oh, we championing that now? Okay, all right, I like that. But that always hasn't translated into other spaces. Look at corporate. Corporate doesn't have that transparency for you to be able to fail in those spaces, or for their employees to be able to take an opportunity to be an entrepreneur or be able to do new things, which often stalls with lack of innovation in corporations, people leaving because leadership is poor, and often translating in decreased revenue. So the point also, too, is understanding that through this failure, right, or through your inability to not fail, it creates a fear, right? And when you create that fear of failure, anytime you're about to fail, you begin to internalize those things, and you begin to think of yourself as a failure. And when you're thinking of yourself as a failure, you're thinking of it as a character flaw that you necessarily can't change, right? Which means it hinders your ability to want to take risk, okay? And that's one of the key things we need to understand. It hinders your ability to want to take risk. And if we're not taking risks, then we effectively cannot make the change and the growth that we need to see in ourselves, right? We're not going to be able to take that or make that impact because we're scared to do what? Take a risk. Because we're scared to do what? Fail. Because our fear has grown so large. And we do that all why? To meet someone else's definition of success, not our own, right? And again, it's programming. We are never programmed to define what success looks like for ourselves. We are programmed to what? Go to school. We're programmed to get a job. We're programmed to have 2 kids, 0.5 dogs, right? we're not programmed to say, you know what? I maybe just want to toss pieces for the rest of my life and live a happy life, and that's great for me. We're not taught that, right? So along those lines, just think about the fact that on top of the pressure of not being able to fail, you have the pressure of meeting somebody else's definition of success, which is really unattainable because it's not even yours. So why do we actually need those spaces to fail, right? And a lot of things that I told myself first before I told my clients, because I got to take my own advice majority of the times, is that we need spaces to fail because we need to learn how to take action, and we need spaces to fail to learn how to recover when those actions don't work out for us, right? So that just leads me into what failure teaches us, right? Failure teaches us 3 major things. 1, failure teaches us how to build resilience, right? Oftentimes, and I've experienced this in my entrepreneurship life, so I actually started my own business in 2020 when I was released into my purpose. That's what my cousin told me, AKA I got let go from my job, right? And often what happened was I was like, okay, I had some FU money. So I was like, cool, what's my severance? Because that's really what I care about. Because I didn't want to be in corporate anyway, right? I was too busy spending all my time trying to take a round peg into a square hole, and obviously it wasn't working. And so what I chose to do is I decided to take a chance on myself. But in taking that chance on myself, it's not one of those things you're like, okay, so you know what, I hit $2 million in the first year, everything is great. No, that is just definitely not what happened, right? And one thing I had to do was I had to learn that in order to get to the next level of growth that I wanted to achieve both personally and professionally, I had to build resilience. But resilience meant that I had to go through. I didn't have the ability to go around the mountain. I didn't have the ability to pray to God that, hey, you know what? I just need you to remove these people. No, he was like, I need to take you through, right? And that was the most important thing because I was able to build the resilience. So when I get to this next level up here, right, I have the ability to be sustainable, okay? So the next thing I learned, or the next thing that we all need to learn what failure teaches us is learning through action. It teaches you how to be comfortable with taking action. But what's most important, it teaches you how to be confident in your decision-making capabilities in order for you to take action. A lot of times people do not take action because they're not confident in their decision-making capabilities because they're so concerned about failure, right? They're so concerned how people would judge them when they fail because we have already been spending a lot of our time internalizing failing as being a failure, right? So what failure teaches us is to learn to get comfortable with taking action and learning to get comfortable with being confident in our decision-making capabilities. The next thing that failure really teaches us is the ability to be uncomfortable because it's only really in those spaces of uncomfortable that you experience a ton of growth, right? But if you fear everything, then you're not taking any action, right? And if you're an entrepreneur, and everybody who's an entrepreneur knows this, the worst thing that you can do in your business is not take action, whether good or bad, right? So you have to be comfortable that sometimes the decisions are not going to work out and understand that all decisions are just not permanent. Matter of fact, 95% of the decisions you make just aren't permanent, and that you have the ability and confidence to be able to take another action to change the direction or course of where you're going. Okay, so what I don't have on here is what we need to do is to reframe how we're looking at failure. And we really need to reframe that failure is equivalent to practice. Right? Make failure equivalent to practice. Take the pressure off yourself. This is practice. I know for all those people who are, I'm 38, so I remember Allen Iverson. So I'm just gonna throw this out here. But remember Allen Iverson was like, practice? We talking about practice, right? Yes, we are talking about practice, Allen Iverson. You were wrong. Yes, we do need to practice, right? And so we need to understand and take the pressure off and make failure equivalent to practice. And learn to stop making success also equivalent to perfection, but to make success equivalent to growth, right? So in order for us to achieve growth, then we need to practice. But in order for us to practice, we gotta fail. And that's where we truly move from win, W-H-E-N, to win, W-I-N. So thank you.
Thank you. Questions? I see a question right here.
I really enjoyed that talk.
Thank you.
And I have a son graduating from college in the next couple months, and was really interested in the discussion at the start, your intro. It sounded like people who are entrepreneurs already could go use your services. And I'm really interested in my son coming to services. So do you teach people who might just have never really gone out there
For sure.
and not have a business to do? And how would you go about that? Or, yeah, I'm just really interested.
So yes, I actually do that. So what I do for those type of people is I have like a 2-hour clarity strategy session, right? Because in reality, what you really need to do is get clear on some type of path and pick it, right? A lot of times our inaction comes from, like I said, the lack of confidence. A lack of confidence picking a path that we think is gonna be successful. Sometimes that ish is not gonna be successful, and we gotta be okay with that. So in the clarity strategy session, what we do is we learn to be okay with some limits and beliefs we have, because 90% of my job as a business coach is getting past mental blocks. I can teach you how to do business, right? I can give you the frameworks, I can do everything on that, but if I can't get you past this, none of it matters. So if your son is serious and he really wants to help, we can do a clarity strategy session and we can make it happen.
We have one more question. One more right here.
Great job, Kenyetta.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. So one thing I did want to add, just in case anybody's looking to build that self-confidence, presentation skills, and leadership skills, please join us at the Toastmasters International for sure. Definitely call on Kenyetta for advice and coaching. And for those of you who need a place to practice, come and join us.
One more question, maybe? I don't see any. Thank you so much.
All right,
Great
thank
job.
you.